budget speech. Yes, completely right, Shashank. And it was for 2.42 hours. That long was the budget. And does anyone know how long this year's budget, union budget speech was?
I think 1.5 hour around.
Yeah, 1 hour 25 minutes. This year it was only 1 hour 25 minutes, but in 2020 she gave a speech for 2 hours and 42 minutes. So that's a very long time. Imagine her standing there for so long and just rambling about the budget. And as surprising as it might be, the next and last question, uh, and we will have more questions, of course, don't worry, is so this was in terms of hours. Does anyone know which is the longest word limit of the union budget and who delivered it in which year? And this is a very iconic and a very significant year I'm talking about, and a very iconic and a significant finance minister.
I can say it, but wait for the audience.
Yeah, anyone? See, we all studied about this. This
Yeah,
is
that's right.
one union budget that we all have been taught in our schools as well. So, any guesses? Yes, Nandana completely right. No, Nandana is completely right. 1991, Manmohan Singh. This was the year where LPG, globalization and privatization policies were introduced. And that year, he spoke 18,650 words, which is the longest and so ironic because it was Manmohan Singh ji who was delivering this speech. So, yeah, that year it was the longest in terms of words. So, with these fun little
I
trivia.
have a
Yeah,
curiosity. Like how many words were there in 2020 budget of Nirmala Sitaram, which was long, which is the by far the longest in terms of duration.
that's a good question. Why don't we have everyone here Google it and like let Anand also know? Now even I'm curious
because
to know.
ideally because ideally the duration will be higher when the number
Yeah,
of words are higher.
yeah, that's true.
So it's maybe miss Manmohan Singh delivered it with a quite high tempo of speech. I don't know.
Imagine irony. Imagine Manmohan Singh ji speaking fast or even speaking. But yeah, if anyone here wants to Google and let Anand know, oh,
Okay,
13,275 words. 5,000 less than
right.
Nirmala Sitaraman ji. Nice.
So she took a while, I think, in delivering the whole
Yeah,
budget.
that, yeah, might be. Yes, true.
Interesting. I think it's very interesting. I did not know all these things. So quite
Yeah, so the whole
knowledgeable.
point of this union budget was this only. So we all see analysis and LinkedIn gurus everywhere who are just telling us about the budget. So I think everyone would know the schemes and everything, but we are too lazy to actually search what these things mean. So we are trying to like maybe help you out there. Answer to Department of MOF question. Oh, that was the budget division of the Department of Economics Affairs. I hope I answered your question. Okay, so yeah. So we're going to start with the discussion. And before we start, again, why do I say before we start? But like a little introduction about this year's union budget. So, as we all know, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman ji gave the speech. And so, this year they've been using this term, right? All of you must have heard that the vision of the government of India is the budget's also vision was Amrit Kaal, right? That Amrit Kaal has these three vision for Amrit Kaal is these three things: opportunities for citizens with focus on the youth, growth and job creation, and strong and stable macroeconomic environment, right? Now they've been saying Amrit Kaal. Is there anyone in the crowd who knows actually what Amrit Kaal means and why they are using this term? Any guesses?
Ma'am,
Yes, Bhavna.
ma'am, I think in 100 years, how much economic development India would have?
Yes, you're
Mm,
completely right. So the government of India's vision, when we achieve 75 years of independence, that is what the government of India declared is that they're going to work towards Amrit Kal, which is when we complete 100 years We want to be India wants India should be a developed country and not a developing country. So that is their vision for Amrit Kaal. So when we achieve 100 years, that would be our Amrit Kaal, where we are finally a developed country. So this year's union budget was based around this vision that we are going to be working towards Amrit Kaal, wherein we have three main points, which is citizens skill opportunity and focus on the youth, right? Second is growth and job creation. And third is strong and stable macroeconomic environment. Okay. And for those, who have forgotten, because, we all do 12th key economics, macroeconomic is basically dealing with fiscal deficit, inflation, and good foreign exchange reserve of the country. So this is what the budget's vision was this year, right? And our priorities, this year's budget priority is called Saptarishi, which is seven priorities, right? So first is inclusive development. When we say inclusive, that means engaging everyone, right? It should be inclusive of all. Second, we have reaching the last mile. Third, infrastructure and investment. Fourth, youth power, which is related to all of us here. Fifth is unleashing the potential. Very, very jazzy way of talking. And sixth is financial sector. And seventh is green growth. So we'll be touching upon all these topics, of course, in a small discussion. We can't talk about everything, but we will be touching about a little bit everywhere, right? So Anand and Venu, do you guys want to say anything, or else should we just deep dive into the conversation?
So I actually want to, ask the participants here, like, what's their understanding about the fiscal deficit terminology? Like, because when we start the conversation, it will be too much of economics jargon,
Yeah.
and let's just see what people know about the very very basic concept. For me it's quite basic, but let's just have what people think about it. What's fiscal deficit? Anyone?
So when export is less
You
than
can.
import, then it is known as fiscal deficit.
Okay, no, that's not the correct answer, but thanks for trying.
So it's the
Anyone
difference
is
between the revenue and the expenditure of the country.
exactly, yes, yes, yes. So basically, most of you guys will be from commerce background, I believe. So the thing which is known as net profit or net loss in our, normally in case of any company, uh, where we do the profit and loss account. In case of country, and it's as Nishika mentioned, that it's known as an annual financial statement. So you are looking at annual financial statement known as union budget, and annual financial statement includes, I mean, must include the net profit and net loss, but which in economic language is known as fiscal deficit. So government has net loss, which is known as fiscal deficit, right? And which is evaluated in terms of its relation to GDP, and which is at 5.9% currently. So we are, in normal sense, we are incurring loss. Our expenditures are more than our revenue, right? Now coming to the next point, what is the opposite of fiscal deficit? So suppose if we are incurring net profit, what you would call it in economic language? Anyone? Where the revenue of government is more than expenditure, because that has not been the case ever. So that
Surplus.
terminology is not much used. Yeah, Akshat, sorry. Akshat, you had an answer?
Sir, budget surplus.
Yeah, that's correct. That's exactly the word. So fiscal deficits is loss, and in opposite to that is budget surplus. The word is quite different than the earlier one. So nice, good traction. Yeah, Nishika, yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, great. So, Yeah, so I think before diving into each and every policy, let's look at the overall budget. And I think this year, we had a very positive response to the budget. So not a lot of criticism from a lot of people, precisely because we all know that we have the election coming next year. So the government was very, like the finance minister and the government was very, I would say they balanced out, making sure that they are able to please people as well as they are able to achieve their aim of fiscal consolidation. So keeping in line with what Anand just introduced, fiscal deficit. Our government has been. You also must have seen the government using a term called as fiscal consolidation. So, is there anyone who can tell us what fiscal consolidation is? And maybe Anand can shed some light on it. It's related to fiscal deficit only, and it's a vision. We're trying to achieve fiscal consolidation. Anand, you want to take up this question, or like should I answer?
So yeah, I think it's like relating it with any company. So it's like minimizing your losses, consolidating it. So
Yeah.
so guys, when you think of budget, relate it what you would call it in case of any company, right? So it's as simple as that, but it's just that this is economic jargons which are used in budget. Find the similar words in normal P&L balance sheet, and you will understand what exactly budget is. So I think I'm correct, Nishika.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely, that's the right answer. So when we are saying, when the finance minister also said that they're going to they're aiming for fiscal consolidation, that means that they're going to, all their efforts is towards decreasing the fiscal deficit, because having a deficit is never good, right? And anyone who wants to guess what is our current fiscal deficit of India right now? Anyone who knows? Anand, Venu, even you guys
Probably
can answer.
5.1%.
Did you say 5.1?
Yeah,
Sorry, you'll have to repeat again. 5.1, is that what you
yeah,
said?
yeah, I said
Okay.
5.1.
No. Anyone else wants to guess?
6.4%.
Yes, correct. Ankesh is completely correct. It's 6.4%. And fiscal deficit is 6.4% of the GDP of the country, right? So whenever we're talking about fiscal deficit, it's over the GDP of a country. So without wasting any more time, I feel like we should now start with the topics of budget. And so, guys, there are a lot of things, and I would really and at the end of the this meet, we'll be dropping in some links also on YouTube that you all can go and listen to, right? Which will give you a comprehensive point of view of the budget, starting with our green growth. Okay, so as the name is very, very self-explanatory, they have come up with a lot of schemes to, towards sustainable development and green initiatives, right? And one of the most prominent one, and that really excite, and actually, when I said that the government has been very inclusive and very people pleasing, so we're also going to try to talk about, like, we don't have the answers to everything, but we should, and we will not be criticizing the government for anything, but we will be questioning some things, which is a thinker for all, like how they can achieve this, or maybe it's easy to say this, but like, do they even have a plan for this, right? And this is the one question that came to my mind when they said PM Pranam would be launched. Okay, so PM Pranam is a scheme that they are coming up with, where they will incentivize states to use alternatives to fertilizers, and they're going to push for natural farming, right? So if anyone knows what natural farming is, I'll just brief. Natural farming is basically letting the environment grow um, crops and plants and everything by themselves, like without any human intervention. So how in a forest we have mango trees and apple trees and mangrove trees and whatever berries and everything in a forest where there is no human intervention, they are talking about making that our default of agriculture, right? So this sounds very, and let's also talk about why, because we all know, see, we all know what are the problems with fertilizers, right? It's not healthy for us, and we all know that we've done basics in school as well. and basic common sense. But right now, fertilizers is also a very prominent topic because of the Russia-Ukraine war. The cost of fertilizer has increased by 200%, right? Whose brunt is being taken by the farmers, and at the end of the day it's been taken by us, and then we go into that inflation and recession topic, right? But right now fertilizers cost has increased by 200% because Ukraine supplies some of the major what do you say, inputs for fertilizers, right? So at this point natural farming is also being very pushed. And mind you guys that natural farming is very different than organic farming, right? Organic farming is basically, you're uh, replacing your fertilizers with biogas, and what we say is manure, like using gobar instead of fertilizers, right? But in natural farming they're saying no intervention whatsoever, right? Let's just let it grow themselves. So it sounds very glossy, and but the question that came in my mind, and I actually want, this is what the purpose of this discussion is, that you also start thinking on these lines, is that how is that going to work? Because in a natural farming there is no guarantee. How are they going to guarantee this, that they will be able to provide enough to cater to the entire country, right? Secondly, when we're not going to use any kind of manure or fertilizers, that means there's going to be more damage to the crops. That means there's going to be less amount of crops available for intake. Wouldn't that lead to a shortage? So this was one of the questions that came into my mind when they were talking about PM Pranam. It's really good that we're talking about replacing fertilizers, but how, like, and what cost? If the farmers don't have control over um, the crops, or they're not using any fertilizers, then how are we going to achieve our production, and how are the farmers going to benefit by it? Going to the next thing that we have, and a very nice, a very cute name, and which they've come up with, is Mishti. Okay, and I don't remember the entire name, but it's Mishti is for mangrove plantations. So what they've talked about is that they're going to have mangrove plantations all over the coastal areas, as well as wherever possible, right? And precisely for the fact, like, not diving deep into it, precisely for the fact that plantation over the coastal area will ensure soil is it's not getting away with the water, and it stays intact there, right? Then they had a lot of other initiatives, and one of them is very important. Okay, so this is the most important one in green growth, which is called as global hub for millets. Why is this important? Is because this year has been called as the year of millets, and this has been endorsed by India, that this year should be millets. Now, a little brief about why India is pushing for millets, and why we are head spearing it, is because it turns out that millets is more healthy, it's healthier, and it's cheaper, and it takes lesser amount of space and water and electricity to be there, and it's healthier than wheat and rice, which was actually what we're consuming right now. So millets is basically your bajra, ragi, and there are three things, right? In millets, can anyone just put it in the chat box? I'm skipping the other one, right? So this is millets, and India is spearing this, that we will not. So right now India is the largest producer of millets and the second largest exporter. Oh yeah, thanks a lot, Simran. Second largest exporter of millets, and we are planning to being the largest exporter and largest producer, and make millets the staple food, like right now how wheat and rice isn't part of it. And precisely for the fact that millets is easier, they take lesser water, and it's easier to grow them. Their cycle is shorter as compared to wheat and rice. The only problem that, of course, they don't talk about in the budget, but is a thinker again, is that millets take more area. So in like maybe in a 1 acre of farm, we will be able to grow more, and I'm talking about 3 or 4 times more wheat or rice than we would be able to do millets. So if we are going to replace wheat with millets, we are talking about having more area given to agriculture and less crop per area, per square area, right? So this is a thinker for all of us to think that, okay, we are talking about millets being a staple and replacing wheat and rice with millets, but is it actually feasible, or is it just a pipe dream that we're talking about, right? Uh, then the next thing is very interesting, is the agri-tech startup, right? So in this startup boom and in this startup craze, the government has said that they are going to incentivize and promote a lot of startups who are interested in agricultural services. And I think it's a great thing, because this way more and more people would be taking up agricultural startups wherein they can help our farmers, and this is a great initiative by the government. Then we have the normal things like push for fisheries and agri credit target. So I think that is majorly what the green growth initiative is talking about. So I like Venu or Anand to maybe take up any of the topic. Maybe Venu, you want to talk about ease
Yeah,
of
yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah. I can. I just want to continue with Nishika what she's saying about green growth. In this part, we have like CPBG and mandate that is compressed by natural gas. The thing is, we can say that in COVID time or after that, the petrol prices and diesel prices are huge, and we are importing from other countries. For this reason, the government has taken an initiative, and I can say it was a very big initiative which may impact the GDP, because they are implementing the scheme that they are going to introduce 5% of the fuel, what my fossil fuel, what they are importing from other countries. They are going to mix the CPG, compressed natural gas, which was made through biogas. And in the process of that implementation, I can say today morning was a news out like tomorrow they are going to set up a G20 presidency meeting regarding blended oil, which is 20% of the fossil fuel. So this can, we can say that we are going into the natural way, what Nishika say about greener growth. And I can say this will definitely give a good impact for the natural fossil fuel, and it can definitely impact the GDP. And the second thing and the most important thing is, as we are chartered accountants and we are very worried about these things, and many aspects from CS and MBA, everyone is thinking about it. It is about ease of doing business. And this time I can say, compare with the last budgets like 22 and 23, they have a good boost for it. Government has removed almost 39,000 compliances, which will help the new startups, new entities who are going to come. It will reduce the compliances what they need to keep. And we can see that, for example, that the PAN has been made, permanent account number has made one identity card for coming up entities, so that they can take out all the documents and they can move through PAN card base. And we can see that government has introduced artificial intelligence, which is one of the booming sector and technology base. They are going to set up three specialized AI centers, which will definitely will impact the economy, because this AI sector is going to introduce in agriculture, health, and education sector, which will and we have also the government has also introduced the entity digital locker. In previous days or up to the budget date, this DG locker is for individuals, but the government has taken initiative to introduce this DG locker for charitable trust and entities, so that the information will be in a safe, and sharing of the documents will be in a safer mode, which will reduce the cyber crimes, etc. And I can say that one of the important thing in the coming days the government has introduced is 100 labs for 5G based applications, which is a good boost for the economy, because as the data is increasing, the stepping of applications, everything is increasing. When the government is going to put this budget, the amount in this like labs of research and development, it will be very good boost for the economy. And one of the very important thing introduced in the budget is Vivad Se Vishwas, which will definitely give very good energy for the MSME startups, because during the COVID time, whatever the MSCs or startups, they are not going to start up their business, and they have put their amount in the tenders and contacts. The amount which they have forfeited because of not getting the contacts and tenders, 95% of the forfeited amount will be returned back by the government, which will be boost for the startups and MSMs who are going to register, so that they can start again the new beginning of those entities. And one more thing, which is a good thing for the government taken, is Mission Karma Yogi, in ease of doing business, which will they will amend 42 central acts, so that the government, the people who are going to start up, enter into the startup business, they can move into it, and it will be uh, definitely reflect the economy in a good way. And Nishika, do you want me continue with the health sector, or Anand, can you take up it?
Anand is going to be talking about the most interesting and the topic
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everyone wants to
So
hear,
yeah,
personal tax.
yeah. I can.
But
Then
before
I
then,
can.
let's get over with the boring ones. But Anand, if you have any inputs in these the things that we've talked about yet.
So regarding uh, the green initiatives, right, which you talk about, Nishika. So I think it's really good that we are moving towards the sustainable optimization of resources, and it's good that the each year on year the budget allocation to green resources is increasing, and which is need of a hour. So good to know this, and good to know that we always talk about these things that uh, you know it's time we should change our habits, right? And it actually helps if budget may government does some initiative to make this thing happen, because if they do it, it happens at a large stage. So that's really a good enabler. So good to see this about the green revolution coming up. Yes. Yeah, Venu, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Venu, do you want to take up health now?
Yeah, I can say health is, the government is taking good steps on health, because I
Yeah.
think by seeing the COVID situations and scenario, I think they change their scenarios, their budget estimates and everything. Uh, Compared to like 2019 20 budget, they have almost spent 1.4% of GDP. But this year they have increased in a VAPA by like 2.1% of GDP in 22 and 23, which is a good sign. They're going to make a good infrastructure, good going to bring the good skill developed labs. They're putting very good in that. And I can say that they introduced the 157 new nursing colleges, but I just had a negative opinion on this, because in 2020 the government has announced 150 nursing colleges they are going to come up with in India. But as of now we can see there are no, like, most of them are not started it. So this will definitely a good impact if we get in the future like 2047. And the government also introduced a mission for eliminating the sickle cell anemia, which is like most of the girls they're going to have because of reducing of the blood cells. So this was taken as a good initiative by the government, that they're going to eliminate full of this disease by 2047. And like every, as we know, every government is introducing the private sector in including railways and every airports and everything. The government is bringing into health sector. They're going to introduce a PPA model for research labs, because of the health industry. They are making it a priority important on this. So they are going to bring a PPE model for these uh, research labs. And you, as you said, Nishika, like greener growth, the government also introduced the mission like green hydrogen mission. The allocation is of like 19,700 crores. Whatever the government is going to put, it's a good impact. And they're going to expect the increase the production of 5 metric million by 2020 2030. So it's a good boost. And I think after seeing all this analysis and budget, as a, like every CA student or say every aspirant and everyone, it's like every year it goes on. Like I heard read on LinkedIn post, uh, 11 बजे को निर्मला सीतारमन आते बजट बोलते, we will check on it. 12 बजे को Arnab Goswami will come, he said a budget is good. And after some, like, people will go, nothing had happened, everything will change. uh, the thing is, the budget is going to, they are going to introduce in it. It doesn't mean that it is going to be implemented. It doesn't mean that actual things going to be happen. Because as we can see last time, when the budget is they have explained that we are going to introduce like almost 132 medical colleges all over in India. But now when we take the fact in the case, we don't have 132. So we need to point out this. The government rather saying what we are going to done in the uh, we are going to do in the future, they need to explain what they have done in the previous and what the progress of it. So we should analyze those things, and it is important for it. And you can say one of the most important, like biggest allocation is like capital expenditure, and it is about 33% of total GDP, and it is about 10 lakh crore out of 47 lakh crores. 10 lakh crore is allocated to capital expenditure. In this capital expenditure, one of the important focus point which I was supposed to say is they're going to give the interest 50 years interest free loans to the state governments, which is a big boost for the state government, so that they can put up those money into the developments, infrastructure developments, roads and everything, which will go into the, as Nishika said, starting point, reaching the last point, unleashing the last point. So the state government will go into the rural areas, they can develop the road facilities and everything. And one more important scheme the government has taken is urban sanitization and introduction into it is they're going to change from manhole to machine hole. So the sewerage system has been changed from manhole to machine hole, which is one of the important and very beautiful concept they have taken. Because when we see, we have, when they in the rainy season, most of the cities we can see in the Bangalore recent time, in Karnataka, even in high tech hubs everywhere, the floods are like flowing everywhere. So the government has introduced the machine flowing artificial intelligence technology is using over there, so that they can manage the sewerage system in a good way. And as we can see, every time it's going to be happen, logistics and regional connectivities, they have introduced like 50 additional airports. We don't know how they are going to start up it, maybe like 2030, but it's a good boost for it. That's it. Anand, you can take it.
Hey, thanks, Venu. It's quite informative. A lot of information which you shared. It's something I think goes unnoticed in the long budget. So it's good that we put some emphasis. Uh, so moving ahead, Nishika, if you allow, let's talk about personal tax. As you mentioned, it's quite uh, you know quite interesting thing which has happened in this budget, and a lot of people pay attention of this particular segment of budget. I think most everyone, like even Nirmala Sitaraman, will be paying the tax according to the rate set by her. So it's important for everyone. Um, and I do not want to mention the revised tax rates and things and the change in slabs or something like that, because I know that it's been a few days post budget and everyone must have gone through the revised rates. Let's have some interactive discussion. Let's know why they did this, why there is this change, why they want to promote people to opt for new scheme. I want to know what people think about it. So, let's start with the basic exemption limit. Basic exemption limit, earlier it was 2.5 lakhs, then it's now it's 3 lakhs. So as a chartered accountant and a freelance practitioner, I feel that it's not good, because now uh, like lesser people will be required to file tax. So as a chartered accountant, the number of clients will get reduced. But anyway, I want to know why they did this. Like why 2.5 to 3 lakhs? Any logical assumption anyone has? Nishika, what do you think?
And I think the only reason was that they are now, in the new scheme, you don't get deductions. So
No,
that's why
it's
they're
it's in case of old scheme as well. So in old scheme with all the deduction, even in that case, the
they've
2.5
increased
limit
it.
has increased to 3 lakh. Yeah. Hmm.
Anyone in the audience who can take a guess?
Very simple.
Sir,
I
could
mean,
you
the
repeat
answer
the
which I
figure?
will tell. Sorry.
So could you please repeat the question?
I think it. What did
Actually, can you type in because your voice is not clear? Can you just write it in the chat box?
anyone else? Not very very complex reason, to be honest. The reason which I will tell is
I think they want to attract more people to the new tax regime.
so it has increased
To
in
make it
either
more
case. Like
inclusive.
no, so include if it inclusive, they would have reduced the limit, right? Like 2.5 lakhs to 2 lakhs, that so that more people will be required to pay tax and file return. Now they are making it, like lesser people will be required to pay tax or file return.
Sir, are you talking about the new tax design?
So in either case, in new or old regime, in both the regimes, the basic exemption limit for filing the tax return has increased to 3 lakhs from 2.5. So I just want to hear from you guys, like what could be the reason. So please do not talk about new or old regime. It's about the basic exemption limit getting increased to 3 lakhs from 2.5 lakhs.
Because of COVID, perhaps many people were attacked by the consequences. So perhaps they have done this so that more
No,
people
so
can pay lesser taxes then to give them a relief.
Uh, but they could have. I mean, they could have done this in the immediately in 2021 and 2022 when the impact was quite huge. Now again, the people are getting back to the pre-COVID levels. That ideally that's not the reason, but
Is
good
it
attempt.
because now that taxes now more people have money, it'll increase the spending in the economy.
Mm-hmm.
because the per
Okay.
capita income of the people of India are increasing with time. So maybe.
Exactly. That's the reason. So we always talk about inflation. We always talk about increase in expenditure, right? At the same time, we are also income has also getting is also getting increased. To factoring that thing, like someone who was earning 2.5 lakhs earlier, like this 2.5 ka limit is there from, I think, from quite a while, and now for the same role, same job, same person will earn more, like around 3 lakhs for the same role. So it makes sense that they adjust the basic exemption limit also, right? So people have started earning 3 lakhs and they used to earn 2.5 lakhs for the same role, same thing 5 years back. So accordingly the limit has increased. So that's the reason. Not nothing too complex, it's just to factor in the inflations in income side. So now you have the perception. Uh, Now moving ahead, a lot of people talked about new regime, old regime. So you guys must be getting that government wants to promote new scheme of income tax, new regime of income tax, uh, uh, and which includes, I mean, which offers no deduction on any investment or things like that. So why is that? I mean, there could be many reasons, but why government is promoting new scheme? Any guess? Like I I can tell only one thing. There are many factors, but what I feel one particular factor is I can tell, but you guys can also try and share your thoughts. Nishika, you think you have any thoughts on that? Why government is promoting new scheme?
I have no idea.
Okay. So you guys, you should, I think you all are aware that new scheme provides no deductions on your investments and any other ATC value deductions, but the significant one is the investments which we make to avail the tax benefit. So government is promoting a culture where you are not required to, make any investments to avail tax benefit. So why is that? Like why government is discouraging tax saver investments? Any guesses?
because they want to increase cash in hand for people.
Yeah, that's a good fair answer, but not the correct one. Because ideally, government would like people to save money and invest, but why then they are not promoting those things? Instead, they are taking the opposite stand, where now people will not save money in order to uh, save taxes. Why is that? Any thoughts?
I guess because many people are trying to save themselves from paying taxes by making investment like unnecessary investment, just just so they do not have to pay tax. Like they are using it as a loophole.
No, no, loophole will always be taken care by government, right? But good answer. And unnecessary investment is not a nothing. It's there is nothing like that unnecessary investment. Any investment which you do will help you, except if it's in cryptocurrencies. Uh, if it's the risk there, but yeah, close, but still not the correct answer. If anyone has any more answer, else I will tell the reason why they, I think why they have moved to this agenda of promoting new scheme. Okay, I think let me tell you. So you guys know that in 2020, post the COVID and the lockdown, a lot of people started investing. The retail investors started investing into the markets, right? Uh, until then, the participation of retail investor was low in the markets. So government, in by giving them incentive and tax, they promoted people, the retail investor, to get into the markets, invest funds in tax or mutual funds or FDs, and by this way they used to get the liquidity in the market from retail investors. Post 2020, the participation of retail investor has increased, and now they are, now they know that people are aware of investment options, investment related, GAN. So now they think that it's the right time. They move to promoting the new scheme. This could be one reason, but that's what, when I think about it, I think that that's the reason, because retail investment has retail investors participation has increased, and thanks to the finance influencers who are giving the GAN all the time. So that's why I feel government now thinks that, okay, investors, I mean the taxpayers are habitual of investments, so let's now not incentivize this by the thing which they already doing. That's one reason I think, which makes sense. So what do you think, Nisha? Is it making sense? Like, this could be the reason, because
I
this is
wish
not
I knew.
something. Because this is not the reason government gave why they did this, but I feel that this could be one reason.
Yeah, might be.
But
Yeah, that's it. I mean, again, it's a thinker, this is what we're supposed to think. Just knowing
yeah,
what the scheme is doesn't make sense unless and until you're thinking about why and how and what.
yeah.
So yeah,
I liked, people also had a lot of thoughts on it.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so it's good to see,
Yes.
people
Also, I really
participate.
believe that this year that they changed all these tax slabs and increased it to 7 lakhs precisely because we have the election next year, so they have to do a little people pleasing. So this is
Hmm.
definitely there that
No,
I
but
think this is like a common knowledge that they've come up with these changes this year because next year they have to please people somewhere or the other. So
mm-hmm.
although I do realize that doing so and promoting new scheme has had a hit on life insurance policy. So there because their premiums are not going to be a deduction, like not allowed as a deduction in the new scheme. So people who take life insurance at a very high premium to save tax, That's they're not going to be incentivized, and that's why I think after the budget, life insurance companies had a little, I think I would say downward spiral a little bit, not a very evident one, but they did.
Right, right. But
But
ideally, the mentality of taxpayer or as a individual should be to take these policies for their ultimate benefit and not for tax planning.
in a
That
utopian
mentality
world,
should.
in a utopian world, we would expect that is happening, but
No,
I
but
think the government is also very aware how people can find loopholes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But still, I feel that nowadays people are getting aware and they would do the things which are required as a for a better life, like in taking the policies or investing money. Now people have started doing it, so that's a good thing, and that is why now government is also not giving any tax in it incentive for that. Like
Yeah,
they know that people have already started doing it.
definitely.
Right. So that's pretty much on personal tax from my side, because I don't want to discuss the things which is available on
On
internet
Google.
like the
Yeah.
rates and slabs. Right. Just wanted to have some perception, and still happy to discuss if anyone has any query or any thoughts on personal income tax changes.
Yeah. I'll just I just have like one thought here that in the so we'll be of course discussing this where on this topic where money comes and money goes. But
Yeah.
they've given like how much percentage? 15% to direct tax, right? They're expecting that India's revenue next year would be 15% from direct tax. And let's see if they're able to achieve it, because even if they're incentivizing people with like when they've raised it to 7 lakhs, and now so basically for those who don't know, and I don't want to say this but if you're living under a rock, so if you don't know, but they've increased the exemption limit to 7 lakhs, right? So that means if you are earning anything below 7 lakhs, you don't have to pay any tax whatsoever. And they've also changed the tax slabs, and most importantly they have changed their surcharge from 37 to 25%. And Anand, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about surcharge? Because I'm assuming not everyone here is a CA or a BCom kid. So just like 2 lines about surcharge and what is the significance.
Right. So I think so surcharge is something which is paid on your income tax liability. So say for example, if you earned 100 rupees, right, and you are paying say 10 rupees as a tax, right, out of applying all the tax slabs related to it, so some 10%, so effective rate of 10%, you will be paying 10 rupees, and on top of that you would be paying some for taxpayer like us who are not from a very high income category, like exceeding CRs of total taxable income, will be paying some 4% on top of that. So your total tax liability would be 10.4 rupees, which is like 4% on 10 rupees of tax. Now, in case of there is one threshold, let me check. I will check out
It's
beyond
5
beyond.
crores. So if your income is more than 5 crores,
Yeah,
then your surcharge was
yeah.
37% earlier. Now it's 25%.
Yeah. So now, so 37%. So like, suppose if your income is 5 crore, you will end up paying probably more than some 15% of effective tax rate. So
Yeah.
let's say some 75 lakhs rupees, and then on top of that, you will be required to pay some 37%.
Percent surcharge.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so which will again, add on to your liability now, which is reduced to 25%. So what is happening in India? A rich pay a lot in
Yeah.
taxes, and and I mean, of course, the lower income class and the poor are in tax-free slabs. So there is this disappointment from those category of people. They think that they are getting taxed a lot, because this much is not, it is quite higher compared to other countries. So in order to give some relief to them, they have done this, uh, you know reduce the tax surcharge rate, uh, which is again not will not change much of their tax liability, but yeah, to a certain extent, it's a relief to them.
Yeah. So, before, like, I mean, I'm just realizing that we've been talking for an hour and we still have a lot of things we can talk about. But before we continue with our discussion, I have a very small, like a trivia here for everyone in the audience. Can anyone tell me the name of the speaker of the Lok Sabha? Who was the speaker? Anyone who knows? Come on, guys, this is an easy one.
Om Birla.
Yes, Nandana, correct. Completely right. Om Birla. Honorable Speaker was Om Birla. And one of the questions that I had, and I was not able to find the answers, if anyone knows here, or maybe you can think, is why is the president not a part of the union budget discussion? Does anyone know this? Or like, has anyone thought about this? Like, the president of a country is not a part of this year's union budget or any union budget discussion. Anyone who knows? And while you guys think about this, another interesting, like before we continue with our discussion, and I hope you all are having a little bit fun, is that I would really suggest that everyone should watch the budget live. Even if you don't understand it, you should watch it live because you understand how it works. Okay, so this year's budget was actually very, there was like a couple of funny things also. Like, I think, Anand and Venu, you guys must have watched it, is when Nirmala Sitharaman ji was talking about polluting, and she
Political.
just, yeah, she just said old and that was such a funny thing.
I
And
think
she,
they know that they are Nirmala Sitharaman ji is speaking right, because that's the reason they are laughing in.
yeah, and it was such a funny moment. Like, she was supposed to say old polluting, and she ended up saying, oh yeah, polluting. Yeah, exactly, Simran, completely right. And the way, and the most like, the I was so impressed the way, I'm pretty sure it was not intentional, but the way she was, she just owned it. Like, yeah, I mean, I meant it. That is the goal of our government. So that was a very good fact. And another thing I was noticing is just the so, guys, we all don't learn these small things, but do you guys ever wonder why everyone taps on the bench instead of clapping? Anyone who has any idea? We see that in the parliament, they don't clap. They hit the table, or they tap on the table, right? Does anyone know why? Anyone kids here?
I
मैम
don't
क्योंकि
know the reason,
बताना
but it.
चाहते हैं कि एक हाथ से भी ताली बज सकती है.
That's a witty answer, Akshut. But basically, this is, so. If any one of you has done any MUNs, Model United Nations, so basically in United Nations they don't clap, and we're using the same model. They tap on the bench. I don't know the logic, but I think we all should search for it and get to know. And I really like the way how our honorable Prime Minister was tapping. He was so disinterested. He was just get it over with, man. So I think what I want to say is that I think everyone should like watch it live, even if you don't understand it, especially since this year's budget, guys, why this year's budget is so important is because next year we have elections, right? So not only is this like an important move for the government, but also because this budget is going to be followed for not just 1 year but 1.5 years. So next budget will not be on February 1st, but it will be in June or July next year, because once the new government comes, only then the budget will be. So this is an important budget. This is very important for us to understand. And continuing with our discussion, there, like, of course there's a lot of things that we can discuss, but a good thing that is relevant to all of us is what they talked about: youth. So they talked about something which hits nerve of every student, is increasing stipends for internships for youth, which is a great, I think it's an excellent thing. So because we all see that students in India get paid nothing, right? And the fact that government also realizes it, and then they're trying to bring up a scheme or like even talk about it, I think it's a great thing. Second that they talked about was Unity Mall, which I think was an excellent thing to talk about. Like, and since the beginning we've known that our current government has been focusing on the fact that we should um promote our heritage, because India is rich with heritage and culture, right? So Unity Mall is basically a center in every state, where in every district and every state, where they're going to be showcasing their special, like what is special in their state, and also encouraging others to show it. And I think that is a great move. However, something I was very shocked about, and I would really like in the audience or maybe our speakers to also talk about, is why did they cut down the Manrega fund by 33%? Like, Manrega is a flagship program which has been going on for years, and even during COVID, the allocated budget to Manrega was superseded. Like, it exceeded because of COVID. People were short on employment, so the government had to give more funds. And we know that states have been asking the central government to reimburse them for the Manrega fund because they're bleeding money. And still, we saw that in this year's budget, they cut down Manrega fund by 33%. That is a lot. And I was just wondering, why did they come up with this move, especially since we are in the face of a recession, a global recession. So anyone who wants to give their analysis, or maybe thoughts over this, or maybe just think about this. Anand, Venu, even you guys can pitch in. I think okay. I think it's a thinker question. So this is like,
Yeah,
so yeah, Venu, definitely.
yeah, I can go it. Like Mandak is such a good example and a good thing that actually this program mainly will be done in the summer season. The main concept this program is like during summer season, the farmers the program is meant for rural people. Mainly it is for rural people. The main reason that is during summer season the farmers will be unemployed. They don't have much work on the farm works, and for this they introduced this Mandrega. But the government this time, whatever Nishika said is exactly right. The thing is, they cut down 33% of it is, uh, I think, as per my point of view, they don't want farmers to be like involved in these activities. So they're going to implement for different, utilize for the farmers for the different, like in summer season, we what are the crops or what are the other products, sunflowers, other plants. So they want to deploy these things on the that activities. So they cut the 33% of my, as per my point of view, the Nishika. But it is a good program for the rural people. Like they just work from like morning 7 to like level 30 or 12, like 3 to 4 hours. And but it's a good, it doesn't uh, impact for the urban, but it definitely impact for the rural people. But
Yeah.
it may increase in the chances of in agriculture sector by increasing the opportunities for growing other for other products, whatever they in summer season. So
Yeah, but I think this is something that we all should think about, that, when the states are already asking for the central to like reimburse them, at that point they are cutting down funds for Manrega. That's why would they do that, right? And I wish we had the answers to it, but we really don't. But all we can do is think about it and maybe look ahead. So budget is something that is a plan, right? But in this year and a half, we're supposed to think about these things, that okay, what was the impact? Like, if they cut down Manrega fund, what is going to happen, right? And for the ones who don't know what Manrega fund is, it's basically an unemployment fund. So people who have been so if you don't have an employment, you can just go to the government and they will get you 100 days of unemployment every year, and they will reimburse you if they are not able to find a job for you in 10 days. So it was very help. It is like one thing. It's a flagship program. Okay, it's been going on for years, and in COVID, it helped a lot to a lot of rural families. The other thing that really caught my eye was the talk about lab grown diamonds. So they she gave us good amount of time to talking about lab grown diamonds and how they're going to uh, invest in the research and development of that. And I think it's a great move, because cutting down on imports and working on something in house, our forex will be stopped from bleeding. But what I've seen in my novice research is that that the gold and like silver jewelers and all are not really happy with this, because they were expecting export cuts, Like they were expecting their imports would be lower down, but it hasn't been, and it actually silver has been increased. So that would mean that we can see a price rise in these things. Other than that, there were like a couple of more schemes that I think we should mention, and then we can wrap up this meeting. Would be oh, thanks a lot, Akshat, but I hope you're not leaving because we're almost about to wrap up. Is there was one very interesting thing that is Mahila Samman Bachat Patra, which is basically that they are giving this 2 year period 2 lakh rupees ki deposit facility to women, which is a great move because you know how we have women who are just putting money in the rice ka dabba. Now they can deposit it in their banks. So for 2 years and up to 2 lakhs, great move. And second was good for senior citizens, which is basically that they have. So there is a scheme called a senior citizen savings scheme. In that, it's a post office savings scheme wherein you get a regular income after you've turned 60 in the form of interest payments, right? So up till now it was 15 lakhs, and now they have increased it to 30 lakhs, which is a great move, you know, giving more independence to the elderly. I think great move. And yeah, I think that is all that I mean, there are other things also. And Anand, do you just want to touch upon like in 5 minutes about rupee, like from where the rupee comes and goes? And before Anand starts, I'd just like to brief out because I'm, you know, just brush up everyone's basics. So we have revenue receipts and capital receipts, which is the income. Your revenue receipts is basically the money that you collected from taxes, and your capital receipts basically talks about two things. Capital receipts could be money from borrowing, which is your debt, and second is money from selling assets. So whenever, like for example, when they sold Air India, that the money that comes from there is called as capital receipts. And on the other side of the balance sheet, we have revenue expenditure, which is basically the salaries, the pensions, the scheme, the, you know, the money that has been spent on schemes and subsidies. That is their revenue expenditure, right? And their capital expenditure is asset creation. So they've talked a lot about capital expenditure this year. They've increased it by 33% than last year, which again, you know, as students of finance, commerce, economics, whatever background we're coming from, we have to understand why capital expenditure increase is a master stroke at this point, is because we're in the face of a recession. So when government uses, so this is a fiscal policy, right? Brushing up on your economics quickly. So when government is investing in capital expenditure, what they're doing is not only creating job, right? They're also creating demand in the market, because whenever I'm constructing something, I would require raw materials, I would require 101 things, right? That puts money in the hands of people, and that is going to create demand and employment, right? So and the best part that I actually thought, you know, so see, this year's budget has had very excellent things, and you know, this is how you have to think about it, right? Is that capital expenditure is a master stroke, but you know what is more impressive in this is the fact that they have encouraged private investment. So not only are they saying that, okay, we are not investing entirely, they are saying private investment is also encouraged. And why is this a master stroke? Is because fiscal policy, if not handled properly, can lead to repercussions as well. So when a government is investing in capital expenditure, it can lead out to crowding out. And crowding out basically means that government ने सारे resources अब use कर लिए हैं, उसकी वजह से private sector is not able to enter the market. So only government is bleeding money and no one else is able to invest because resources are restricted, right? Not everyone, the restricted amount of resources. So if government is using all of them, it gives no scope for us to invest. So what the government is doing and the finance minister is that they are encouraging that, okay, you know what, we are going to invest this much, but we are also encouraging the private investment. Like they have given like 15,000 crore. I think I might be wrong with my numbers, that this is going to be the investment by private investment. And I think that shows that it was a well thought budget and not just, you know, talking in the like they're just talking like that. So I yeah, like a little brief about like capital expenditure and your revenue expenditure. And over to Anand, who will just explain where we get money from, what is the percentage, and how we are bleeding money, and what is the percentage. Over to you, Anand.
Thanks, Nishika, and a very good background about the concept of revenue and expenditure of government. If you allow, I will try to explain this thing with presenting a tab. I've just find an article on the internet, so I will just quickly share, so we will be able to um, understand it better. So let me know if it's visible.
Yeah, it is.
Right, so there is this one article which talks about where rupee comes from and where it goes, the thing which we exactly discussed just now. So there is this graphical breakup of where rupee comes from. So you know to simply speaking, this is the revenue of government. Largely the large share of the revenue of government is it comes from borrowings and other liabilities. Then India usually earns a good amount of chunk from tax revenue. So the breakup of what tax is contributing, what level of what proportion of its income is there. Like GST contributes to 17%, then corporation tax 15%. Corporation tax is basically the tax paid by companies, corporates, and income tax is basically the tax paid by individuals like me and you. So together this comes to 30%. So we can say IDT, the GST part of IDT contributes to 17%, then the direct tax contributes to 30%. For union excise duty is contributing 14%, and then non-tax receipts and custom. So custom, union, excise duties, these both are again considered as indirect taxes. So 18% plus GST 17%. So around 35% is from indirect tax sources and 30% from direct tax sources. So 65% is largely from some tax related receipts, and the remaining one is basically the borrowing and other liabilities, income from, like, government gives the amount to banks, so uh, they earn interest out of it. So this is the sources of funds, the income, or we can say where rupee comes from. Moving ahead, it's mentioned here, where does the rupee go? So budget shows that 20 paisa, like the 20% uh, of the total amount spent. So 20% of expenditure and not 20% of income earned. So 20% of expenditure will be used for interest payments, right? So government, you know, uh, has a lot of borrowings from, say, World Bank and others. So they pay interest on it. Then 18 paisa means 18% will be paid as a state share of taxes. So you guys know that GST is distributed by government to the respective states. So it's like sharing that amount with them. 17 paisa will go to central sector schemes. So some yojana which we often hear, that there is this XYZ yojana. So some 17% of expenditure relates to those yojanas. Then 9 paisa is allocated to finance commission and other transfers. So some finance related expenses of government, and some other transfers and centrally sponsored schemes. So again, something on the schemes of which are sponsored centrally. The next critical expenditure is defense expenditure. Government pays a lot of amount on defense, so it contributes to 8% of its total expenditure. Then subsidies. So government also gives a lot of subsidies to relate, we can say, the gas related subsidy, which a lot of us avail. So that is one. Then finally, pensions will receive only 4 paisa for every rupee. So government employees get pensions, so there is some cost to it. So the 4% of its total expenditure relates to that particular pension related cost. So that's something, a typical breakup of government's income and expenditure. and I will close my screen. Right. So I hope this was informative. So this is the breakup of government's income and expenditure. Nishika.
Yeah, and see, guys, this is why is this important for us to know is we should know कि actually पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है and पैसा कहाँ से जा रहा है. And the most important thing that we see here is that the amount of debt we have. 34% of our revenue is debt, and 20% of our expenditure is this interest payment. इसकी वजह से ही we have a physical deficit, right? And another thing that we should notice in this is, as Anand told us about the defense. So if you see the major allocation in terms of ministries has been done to Ministry of Defense, which is 5.94 lakh crores. Which why is it significant is because they have increased the budget for defense this year, precisely because of what is happening in our the geopolitics right now with the threat that we have against Pakistan and China. So defense has been given a lot of importance, and then the second highest is our road transport, and then third goes to our railways. So yeah, I think Anand gave a very good description of where our money is coming from and where it is going from. And I think with that we can close this discussion. um yeah, before we close, of course, Anand and Venu, why don't you give your closing remarks of what is like your overall view and analysis of this year's budget, and what do you rate it as? Like, was it a master stroke, or was it a good one, or what are the things that you feel, and what we should look forward to in this year?
I think it's really good. One thing which I think we did not speak a lot is the capex planned for some 10,000 crores, 33% up from previous year. So it's always good when government, you know, focuses on capex, which very really important for a developing country like India. And I feel it's very a good uh, budget from a perspective of growth of India. And coming to the ground level, like what matters to you and me and people, individual people of India, they have made some changes in the personal tax, which is also good. So it's not just about the macroeconomic uh, budget, but at the same time, the things which matters most to the citizens of India, they were also touched upon that. And also the green revolution, then again the startup benefits have increased by one more year. So these things also promote the entrepreneurship and the sustainability. So I think they have touched the many important aspects of people of India, and I really liked it. And I think it's very good budget.
Venu, you want to share?
Yeah, I can say that it's a good budget, no, not the best budget. The thing is, the as you said, it's like vision for 100 years, um, and they focused on like three concepts, as you said: opportunity for the youth, and creating the macro stability, and growth and job creation. In as Anand said, and as I discussed regarding the capex, it's a good one because as we invest in the assets, it will generate the revenue automatically, but not in now, but in future, like in 2030 or whatever maybe. It's a good one. It's a good sign for the economy, and I can say that what are the point they mentioned for reaching the last people, last individual. They have allocated, but it doesn't sufficient for the people, whatever they have done. Uh, because everyone is expecting in, I said in Anand discuss about the personal tax, it's a good one. Everyone was in a thought or like middle class or all the people are like in a thought that they may changes in the deductions like ITC, they're going to increase it and it's going to be changing the all. But it's they have all amendments whatever they made it in new tax liability, as we know that most of the people will they opt for old tax liability. When there is nothing change in it, nothing implemented in it, no modifications in it, then what's the benefit of for the people, you and like me? Because as we can see nowadays, the average CTC, we can say that minimum to 6 to 7 lakhs for the every sector people. So when there is no point of taking it, I can't say that the what the tax they made, it does not impact anything. It may impact, but the major proportion, it does not care any difference for the normal people like us. And uh, in case of like what they are honest for the schemes like 47.8 crore PM Jan Bank Yojana, 9.6 crores LPG connections, and they are saying that 220 crores COVID vaccination. I can say that they are making in a political way, whatever it may be, but it's a good one as per part of allocating the budgets to. And the main initiative they made in green growth, as you explained, uh, again they are moving into the vicious cycle, like where we started from, like agriculture, industrial and service sector. Now they are again moving to the agriculture sector. So it's a good initiative for taking the steps ahead for agriculture sector. We can say that it's a good budget, not the best one. That's my overall point, Nishika.
Yeah, well said, guys. And I think, with my ending remarks would be this only that it was, I mean, of course, we wouldn't know if it's a good or a bad budget until we reap the benefits out of it. But what in my analysis, would be that they kind of managed to have a balance, strike a balance between people pleasing, inclusivity, as well as talking something which is logical and senseful. And when I say inclusive, is that the fact that they have talked about tribal communities, they have talked about the OBCs and SCs and STs. They have come up with schemes for them. They have talked about farmers. They have talked about fishermen. They have talked about youth. They have come up with schemes for, I think, like, supporting the weaker sections of the society. So I think this year they come up with schemes for even those who sometimes are looked, that we kind of ignore. And I think that was a good way of moving ahead, and they have been fiscally very diligent by, maybe if they're talking about the capex or the way they've come up with different allocations. So I think overall, in my opinion, it was a good budget, except a few things, thinkers like how are they going to implement a couple of things, and if actually they're able to achieve what they are. And also keeping in mind that, see, one, like, when, like, my ending note would be this, and somewhere I read this, and it really left an impact on my head, was that when finance minister was talking, she was talking about an era which is going to be all glossy and like very rosy, and that might be a little delusional, or trying to like not bring the real facts to the reality of the situation. Is that 2023 we might actually face a global recession. So what are we going to do then, right? Because right now what we're seeing is that we're going to consolidate our fiscal deficit, and the entire world is freaking out. People are losing their jobs, and here we're talking about a 5.7 fiscal deficit. So that is something that I was a little concerned about, to be honest, that they're talking about a rosy picture where everything is going to be the way it is right now. So, of course, these schemes would work, but what will happen if we are faced with a recession and people lose their jobs and there's inflation which is high? So, that is one thing that we all should think about. And as students and as citizens of this country, a union budget is very important for us, because this lays down the base of what the vision for the next year is, and how we should see what is going to happen this year and what the government is aiming for. So I think that would be all from my side, and we can close this panel discussion. So thanks a lot, Anand and Venu, for your insights, and I really hope that all of you was able to gain something and actually get a more understanding, like in a more layman way. That was the whole point of this discussion, is that maybe breaking down the technicalities and giving an insight of actually what is budget and how it impacts us. Before bidding adieu, I would like to take 2 more minutes to just tell you all about Aspire a little bit. So I'll just drop in the website name. So at Aspire, what we basically do is, as it's my favorite thing to say, is that we're reducing your Google search. It's an unbiased way. There is no promotion advertisement. So for example, if you're a CA or you're trying to do CA or you're pursuing CA or any of these courses, right? So you can go to our website, you will see every resource that you want, whether it's finding the right teacher for yourself, finding reviews from our mentors who are guiding which teacher is good for you or not, maybe finding all the papers, mock test series, revision links of YouTube. So, when I was doing my exams, I relied completely on marathons for my revision. So we have done that research for you, and we've put up the best ones on our website. So do give it a check, and it's not just for CA aspirants; it's for all aspirants: CA, CFA, CMA, CPA, ACCA, FRM, CS, all seven. It's a 7 course meal. So do check out our website, and along with that, we have an option where you will get mentorship. So Anand and Venu are mentors that are aspirants. Just like them, we have 40 more mentors on board with us who will not only help you out in your study plans or maybe your course, but also give you just career guidance or maybe helping you to deal with your anxiety and your stress and your failures. So you can get the registration. Radhika, can you just please drop the mentorship form link in case anyone wants to, even if you're not a student and you're just a BCom kid or an eco kid and you're looking for a course, because these professional qualifications will set you apart from rest of the crowd when you're talking about your interviews or your MBAs or anything in your career later on. So you can get a little bit career guidance if you want from Aspire. And just like this panel discussion, we have jam-packed webinars and workshops happening every weekend. So stay tuned on the WhatsApp group, and you can check out our website, and we will be posting everything on our LinkedIn and Instagram accounts. And I really hope that we get chance to interact with you guys more. And our webinars are like this only, where we are interacting. We are not just talking like a robot, and we are actually trying to put in, a little more informal conversation so that it's clearer and it's not like listening to a college lecture, because come on, let's be honest, no one listens to that anymore. So that's all. I really hope to interact with you guys again. Thanks a lot for joining, guys, and yeah, have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nishika. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Nishika.